Spitzbergen is this archipelago administered by Norway, deep in the Arctic. It's actually about 1,000 kilometers away from the North Pole, so it's almost as far north as you can be. This archipelago and the Arctic Ocean around it is actually the fastest warming place on Earth. It's warming 6 to 7 times faster than the rest of the world. And what we see there is the direct impacts of climate changes. It's glaciers receding, some glaciers disappearing, collapsing. It's the permafrost, the frozen soil, thawing deeper and deeper every year, creating landslides, destabilizing infrastructures. We also have now a lot of snow actually falling on these Arctic deserts, creating avalanches that can actually hit the town where I live. So the impacts of climate changes, there we see them every day.
It's a culture built on coping with the cold. How is it impacting them that, 6 degrees warming, that must just change a culture, a way of life?
Yeah, absolutely. There we actually don't have indigenous communities on the archipelago of Spitzbergen, but we're all used to certain temperatures during the summer, certain temperatures during the winter times, and everything is changing. You know, even the weather forecast doesn't work anymore for times of the year because the weather has become so chaotic. So there, I think we've become pros at adapting to what is totally unexpected. Every time I go and travel onto glaciers really far away from town, I have to be ready for total chaos, and I have to be ready to be stuck in one place for days on end, or I have to be ready for rain. I have to be ready for the unexpected, and that makes life very tricky there.
So the climate crisis is changing a region, but changes to that region will mean changes for the whole planet. Can you describe why?
Yeah, absolutely. What happens in the Arctic actually doesn't stay in the Arctic. The fact that we're losing the sea ice of the Arctic, which is that crust that is permanently covering parts of the Arctic Ocean, is impacting two things. First of all, the winds, the way the winds between the Arctic and our countries are working, but also the ocean currents. And this at home creates basically more frequent and more intense extreme weather events. And we've all seen extreme weather events over the past few weeks, the past few months. It's heat waves, it's droughts, it's intense precipitation. Most of this actually can be traced back to what is happening to the Arctic today.
We're seeing these dramatic extreme weather events. We're hearing these dramatic statistics. You're mentioning 6 degrees warming. We're also seeing politicians rowing back on climate commitments, saying, it's a bit socially difficult to push through net zero targets now. How does that make you feel as a scientist witnessing what's going on up there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It is so very hard for us because politicians have known what is happening for quite a few decades now. They cannot pretend like they're not aware of what's happening. What we ask of them is simply to protect their populations. That's, the number one thing they have to do. And in order to protect their populations, they have to be aware of how bad the climate crisis is and how bad it could be if we do not act fast enough. So, it is extremely frustrating for us, but we're not giving up. I really want to make sure that the scientific community in Austria continues their great work at communicating the science to the policymakers. It is teamwork, and we will absolutely keep pushing them to make the right decisions.
Heidi Sevestre, thank you so much.
Thank you.